What's up, you guys? Heading to Orange County today, hanging out with Johnny and Bao. Gonna get some really, really good Vietnamese food at Folicious. And then we're gonna head over to this TV station and do some interviews. I got a big announcement I wanna make. So, looking forward to you guys, man. Tune in.
Good to see you, man.
How you doing? Good to see you, man.
Welcome.
Hey, how are you, brother?
Good to see you, brother.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you guys.
Come on in. Welcome to
Sounds
Felicious.
Sounds good. Thank you.
We'll get a good bowl of pho.
All right. So tell us about your trip. I mean, when you were living in Vietnam for a while.
Yeah. So I was there for almost 7 months.
Oh, okay. So just recently.
Just recently. And I got back about a month ago. My brother was playing in the Final Four. For
I know. I
UCLA,
saw. I was
and that
excited.
Garnered so much attention. That was really fun to watch. So that was my excuse to come home and be home for a little bit before I head back out to Vietnam.
So why was UCLA so important for you? You should tell me your backstory in UCLA.
So I went to UCLA years ago, and when I was at UCLA, I did a lot of things there. But one of the things that I am very proud of is I'm the founder of the Vietnamese Student Union at UCLA.
Really?
So UCLA is the only school in the world that has VSU. So the difference is that it's actually funded by the school. So during my year, what I did was I merged all the Vietnamese organizations together and get funded from the school.
Wow.
So all the other schools would have VSA, which is Vietnamese Student Association. So we are a union. Yep.
That's so
And
cool.
we do have one of the strongest, clubs or organization around.
Right.
So everything is fully funded by the school.
Wow, what year was this?
I don't know if I want to tell you, but it was a while back.
Say it on camera, man. Come on, you're OG, dude. You're OG.
Yeah, but I organized actually like leadership conferences. I taught a leadership class at UCLA as well. Yep. So when your brother was playing, we were all like over there. Like, dude, we got like 20 people, around, and we were like screaming throughout. We were almost there.
Oh my, yeah, it was so cool to see the level of community that he was able to bring together.
Yeah.
Throughout that couple weeks.
I'm a Pac-12 guy. My wife went to Cal,
Okay.
so I've been rooting for Cal ever since then. But Cal hasn't produced any kind of level of any team like that caliber. So during the tournament, I was rooting for the entire conference because also not even just what UCLA did.
Yeah,
the
USC,
Pac-12 did. Like they sent 5 teams to March Madness, including the new Colorado and everything.
Right.
But it was amazing just for the Pac-12 to get that far.
They had a great showing. Yeah.
No, but it was a good game. It was crazy. It was a crazy game.
All the way to the end, literally.
I've never followed March Madness to that level. I think, your brother's run was special, but I think just even what UCLA as a team did for the conference, for being the 11th seed, I mean, it was one of the most exciting March Madness to history. And unfortunately, the national game didn't live up to the hype when with Baylor and Gonzaga. But I think the Final Four game was it.
Yeah, no, it was funny because they came after the Michigan State game and probably the first round game, they almost formed as like the people's team for everybody.
They were the people's team, yeah.
For everybody, regardless of who you rooted for, you couldn't really find anyone that didn't like that UCLA team. They were just the camaraderie, the passion, being the underdog. I think everyone can relate to some degree with that team, and so it became. I mean, the fan group behind that team was everybody, per se.
What made me super interesting, because obviously I followed your career in Vietnam, but as soon as the elite game was over, I saw your post on Instagram where you were screaming at the rooftop, right? Take me through that moment and getting on a plane and heading to Indianapolis, because my perception was like you still had the season going on, like preparing for the next season of the VBA. Like, how did that happen so fast? Because getting from Saigon to Indianapolis.
So what was actually it's a funny story, because as the games kept progressing, there was this yearning feeling of I need to be back and experiencing this and being there and getting to support my brother. But at the same time, I'm working out there in the venture capital space, so it's hard. I can't just get up and leave. And then once you leave Vietnam, the borders are shut, so it's really hard to get back in. Yeah. So our ongoing joke with my parents was, if they make it to like the Final Four, I'm coming back at all costs.
Was it hard to get out though?
it wasn't hard to get out. It's hard to get back in.
It's hard to get back in, I know.
And so, like, it was funny because after the Sweet 16 game, it was like everyone was looking at each other like, this might be a thing, but you know, they still have Michigan in front of them. Let's take it one thing at a time.
That's the way I viewed it as a fan too.
And it was funny because I'm watching the Michigan State game and I'm going crazy in my room, but there's this thought of if they win, this is gonna happen. And I don't want to say anything. I'm really superstitious, so I'm not I'm not making any plans yet. And when they won and they missed those last two, attempts at the end, I mean, I was just jumping for joy. Not from the fact that I get to go home, but the fact that they really pulled this thing off, and against all odds, beat all these teams, number 2 seeds, number 1 seeds.
And that's why the odds were against them. It was like they're stacked against just talent, number 1 and number 2 seeds.
Right.
But I was like, if any team can do it, it's this special team. But it was also just that energy that your brother brought, man. He was lighting it up.
Yeah.
I know you were so proud as a UCLA guy.
Yeah. And I don't usually watch college basketball, but every single time UCLA plays, I'm telling you, I was actually there years ago when we were actually when we won. UCLA won like years ago. Yes, I was there witnessing it, and Westwood was crazy. They were lighting up things on fire. Everyone was like just partying it up. Yeah. So this year I was hoping for the same thing.
They did light on fire, right? Yeah, bro. Yeah. Was it after the Elite Eight? Or was it Final Four?
Yeah. The Westwood was like up and.
So give me like a brief timeline of your life before college.
Okay.
And then how Harvard happened.
Yeah.
And then how you got recruited to go back to Vietnam.
Yeah, for sure.
It's quite interesting.
It's all been a serendipitous, series of events, to be honest. Grew up in the Los Angeles area, never had to move or anything, so really fortunate in that regard. It was funny because we all stayed in one house, but I went to like 7 different schools growing up.
Okay.
Like from preschool all the way up. So by the time I got to high school, I'd been to like a lot of different schools. I think that allowed me to kind of adapt into any room I, went to. When high school started, I wasn't even necessarily on the radar. I don't think many people, maybe a little bit after my 8th grade year, I was on the radar, but people weren't looking at me like, oh, he's a Division I prospect out of the gate. And then after my freshman year, I picked up my first Division I offers. So University of San Francisco and Loyola, Maryland, and Baltimore. And it kind of took off from there. I think once I got my foot in the door, I started to pick up more and more offers. And then it was my junior spring when Harvard came around. And I had garnered a good amount of interest at this point. But I remember when that came around, I mean, when you think about your parents and, our family story was that my grandma came over here during the war. She moved to Virginia Beach. And that's 2 generations ago. And so to have the opportunity where Harvard comes knocking on your door, it wasn't only just for me, it was for my entire family, that decision and that accomplishment.
It's an amazing school.
Yeah. So it was hilarious because, there's a lot of thought that goes into it, and you usually make your decision senior fall. It was about 3 days after I got that phone call, because when they recruit you, they know you could get it. Like, they look at your grades, they look at your test scores. Before they make that call, they know that admissions will usually go okay. I remember that maybe 3 days after that call, we made the decision, like, let's shut down the recruiting, we're going to commit. Because it was just a dream for all of us, and kind of a testimony to how far the family's come, literally, in 2 generations. So, yeah.
And what was the adjustment to moving over there?
To Vietnam or to Boston?
To Boston.
The weather.
Let's start with that.
Let's start with the weather.
Because you're a California boy, man, yeah.
That weather hit me. But you know what? It makes you tougher. Yeah, I'm glad I got away from LA, got away from home, because it makes you grow up much faster than you think you might. So being away from home, having to do all the little things that you kind of take for granted when you have your family around, I think it helped me. It was definitely my first year and a half was tough. My playing time was inconsistent and whatnot. It really challenged me and tested me. But it built up a level of perseverance that I didn't know I had in myself. when your back's against the wall. And so to persevere through that 1.5 year time, not knowing what your outcome's going to be, and then getting the starting role for the rest of your time there, it just makes it that much sweeter. It makes you want to cherish it.
So you were started for both seasons?
I was a starter for the second half of my sophomore year and all the way through.
All the way through.
Yeah.
How did you balance academics? Because I mean, academics and basketball,
Yeah.
because it's Harvard here.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not putting any other program
Right.
down, but it's Harvard,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, it comes with anything in life that you want. It just comes with sacrifice, I'd say. Time management. But there's Friday nights, there's Saturday nights where you're traveling. You're not, you got to hit the books because you have an upcoming game. Like, you don't get to have necessarily the full college experience that you think, most people do have. But at the same time, well worth it. I would do it again if I had the chance. At the same time, we do get to have some fun as well. And being on those trips, like for example, my first college basketball game was at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Shanghai.
Wow.
Against Stanford. Like moments like that, like you might miss something on campus.
Shanghai. That was the first game.
Yao Ming's courtside, like experiences like that. We got to go tour Alibaba.
God, that's insane.
Meet, their executives and whatnot, and tour the campus, like things like that.
Was that a regular season game, or that was a
That was our first regular season game.
Wow, so you actually went international?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So just experiences like that. I mean, you don't mind missing anything. So
let me ask you, what when you're in college? I mean, what is your schedule like daily? Are you taking the same classes that all the other college students are taking?
Yeah, I'm really, really thankful, and this is a shout out to Coach Amaker, but they have no restrictions as to what classes you can take. Some programs are like, here's your classes, come play basketball. This is very like, even when he recruits you, he lets you know this is more than a basketball experience. He wants to make sure it's well-rounded. So whatever you're passionate about, you can take those classes. Everyone kind of does different things just based on the characters of the team. But yeah, I mean, I got to take all the classes I really wanted to take, so no regrets on that end. And then on top of that, the people they bring into the room that we get to speak to on a personal level as a team, the Cornell West, we got to speak to the former chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs. We've got to speak to literally anyone you could think of in almost all verticals of life. So I think that is probably the biggest takeaway and advantage that we got to have.
And your focus in school was finance or private?
They don't have, it's liberal arts, so they don't have a undergraduate business school. I wanted to do something in between kind of econ and psychology, so I did sociology. So that was my concentration, as they call it. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I learned a lot in those classes, but more so than what I learned, it's who I met during my time there, for sure.
And what was training like?
It's vigorous, but they do a great job of they try to get you in, get you out. So when you come down from classes, say at like 2 p.m., I'm slow and I do extra stretching, extra ice bath, extra massage, so I end up getting out of there at like 7. But technically, the window with lift practice is usually 2 to 5, 4 to 7, something like that. But when you come in early, get your treatment, leave late, extra work on the court, it could be like 5, sometimes 6 hours.
So it's about,
Yeah, so it's usually your afternoon.
so average about 4 hours per day.
Yeah,
And then
usually more than that.
And then weekends, you guys would have games.
During the Ivy League season, yeah, we play Friday night, Saturday night.
So what's your social life like? I
During
mean,
the season, it's not much.
honestly, I'm curious because
like-
it's a lot of dedication.
Yeah.
I mean, again, Harvard, and then the type of training you guys do for basketball.
Yeah. During the season, it's not much. Our little window where we got to go party a little bit was probably like the month after season, right before we go home.
And that was your first time away from home, right?
Yeah. That was my
Yeah.
first time away from home. So you kind of learn as you go and learn where to pick your pockets and have like your other aspects of life. But to be honest, you're so busy with class and meeting interesting people and practice that you kind of get lost in things in a good way. And I think that you're not necessarily too worried about other things going on. You're kind of in your own bubble there to some degree. So. Alrighty, we're here in Little Saigon, here at CBN. Gonna do my little TV news interview and break a little bit of news.